load it up. There we go. Thank you very much for participating in this, the second of 6 workshops being held on the Beaver Valley Corridor. I actually love that we get to meet online. It opens up so many opportunities for everyone to participate. There's no driving to nighttime meetings. There's no driving through the rain. There's no arranging to get babysitters. So you get to talk to us from wherever you are. And that has been one of the few positive outcomes of the last 14 months. We've had, over the past 14 months, we've had really good turnout to our online meetings for other projects. So I'm happy to have this opportunity. So we are very much, let me just share my screen. We are very much looking forward to hearing your hopes and aspirations for the Beaver Valley Corridor. The corridor stretches 40 kilometers in length. It's a vast area, and this is just the first step for the municipality to set some overarching direction for the area. My name is Donna Hind. I'm a partner at the Planning Partnership. I'm a landscape architect by training and a partner in the firm. We've been asked to help the municipality with this first step in the process of planning for the Beaver Valley Corridor. On the call is one of my business partners, Wai Ying DeGiorgio. Just get you to raise your hand. And Robin Chubb, an associate at the Planning Partnership, just raise your hand. They are both landscape architects and designers. So I want you to give me less than 10 minutes to set just a tiny bit of context of what we've heard so far. We've organized the conversation that's going to follow around 4 questions that we'd love to get your help on. We want to understand what you think are the trends in the area, how the Beaver Valley relates to other nearby areas, what you think are the biggest opportunities in the valley, and then help us with some words that we could put together in a vision statement. There's lots of people on the call. There are 53 people. So I want you to be respectful of the other people's time. We had lots of time in the last section, so I have every confidence we're going to have the same now. It's not the forum to read from prepared notes, but we absolutely want you to send those notes to us through the municipality. They're collecting all the written submissions. We're going to summarize and report out on those when we wrap up with our report targeted for the early summer. Along the way, we've got a couple of polls just so we understand, and you do too, who is on the call. So right off the bat, I'm going to ask Robin to launch the first polling question, just so you know literally where everybody is coming to us from Beaver Valley. So just take a second and tell us where you live, and then we're going to share the results. And this is really interesting for us. We want to see if we have a good cross section of people from across the valley. And sometimes if we see that there's pockets that we're missing, then we can have some targeted consultation and outreach on that. So we've got 36 people of 52 that have responded. So I just give it another.
Someone just pointed out that we spelled Kimberly wrong. I noticed that as well. I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh my goodness. Okay. That's my fault. Take complete ownership for that. I will correct that for next time. Okay, I think it's slowing down. So Robin, if you can end the poll and just share the results so everybody can see. Thank you for that typo. And there we go. Most of the people in Kimberley and a few in some of the other hamlets and villages and towns. Thank you for that. I'm just going to stop sharing it. Thanks a lot. So let me start with a bit of regional context. The Beaver Valley, outlined in red here, is nestled along the escarpment. I'm sure everybody on the call knows that. It's a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, the Niagara Escarpment. It's one of only 18 in Canada. We've done a lot of work along the escarpment, particularly in Niagara, so we understand the significance of this feature. The corridor is 40 kilometers in length and includes over 11,000 hectares out in this area outlined in red. We're going from just north of Flesherton to just north of Epping. So it's a vast area. That's the focus of the conversation today. I want to share a little bit of what we learned from the survey that we launched last week before this workshop. We asked a really simple question. We said, what words or phrases best describe the Beaver Valley corridor to you? And we looked at all the words. I think we had 500 words that were submitted, and we organized them into these themes and helped us organize some of the maps we're going to talk to you about today. So we had a cluster of words and themes that had something to do with nature or environment, something to do with recreation, something to do with character and aesthetics. These are just a sample of the words that I wanted to share on the screen. Had a cluster of words that had to do with management, economic development, and then the social and cultural attributes of the valley. We were really intrigued by reading the words and phrases. Thankfully, I spelled Kimberly right here. We took all those words in a big bundle and we created a word cloud. So a word cloud takes all the words, gets rid of words like the and and the size of the font indicates how frequently that word was used. So right away, you can see pop out beautiful and natural and green and protect and outdoor and stewardship. That was really interesting to us. So that we used those themes to organize some mapping that I want to take you through. I'm going to walk through this swiftly. All of this information, including the presentation, is going to be posted on the project webpage next week. I love this map. I also am a geographer, and I love seeing how clearly the topography is showing up. So here's the red line of our study, or the top of the slope, and the black line is the whole extent of the study area. I am hearing somebody's mic on. I'm just going to take 1 second and mute a couple more. There we go. So I love this map, and I love the way the hamlets and villages and towns dot the landscape along the valley slopes, and in between, when I've driven through, it takes my breath away, the long distance views across the landscape. You know that this area outlined in red has got so many significant woodlands. The word significant is not our word. It's a word that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry uses to define woodlands. And so these darker green areas, you can see how much land within the red boundaries are significant woodlands. There's also provincially significant wetlands, and those are the bright greeny blue color, and the dark greeny blue is other wetlands. And again, not our words, that's a recognition that the Ministry of Natural Resources has given to those features. The Ministry of Natural Resources also identifies areas of natural and scientific interest. So those are within our study area, these first four, and we did in our previous conversation have a conversation about the significance of number 2, the karst and the sinkholes, the lowlands, and you can see how many areas exist around, in and around the corridor that we're looking at today. The natural heritage system has been recognized in the county's official plan. It comes together in the natural heritage system, and so these are the bright green, which are the core areas, and then the dark green is an indication that it is important to create linkages between some of these areas. We heard a lot about points of interest, and so this is some of the collection of what we came to understand and what we heard. Areas where you can put a canoe in, the lookouts where I stood at the one here at number 11, and it literally took my breath away, just the way people on the survey said it's breathtaking. You can see the conservation areas and parks that dot the valley from south to north. We heard a lot about the trail system. We know this is part of the 900-kilometer Bruce Trail system. We know that people love to walk it. We heard a little bit about cycling. We know about canoeing in the river, snowmobiling. In terms of management, 4 or 3 conservation authorities manage land in this area: the Nottawasaga, the Saugeen in the kind of limey green, and then the bright green is the gray Sauble. We know that the county manages several forest blocks, and we know that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry also has some lands here that we are tracking down. You know that the entire area is within the Bruce, or is in the Niagara Escarpment plan. So the whole area outlined in dark green. And that the commission is mandated to maintain and enhance the vitality of the environmental and landscape features. It also provides guidance for development and use. And this is all to uphold the recognition of this area as a UNESCO biosphere reserve. It's the Niagara Escarpment Plan is Canada's first large-scale environmental land use plan, which provides protection for this area. It's also one of the most.
Okay. I had it in my hand. I didn't need it.
Second, just muting a few people. It is one of the most restrictive pieces of legislation that exists in Ontario. So the designations of the plan, their vision statement. We also know that the Bruce Trail does an amazing job managing and overseeing and stewarding the 900 kilometers of trail, and it's secured within a permanently protected natural corridor. The municipality prepared a strategic plan to guide its efforts. The frame is 2019 to 2023. It has a vision to be Canada's most inspired and well-managed rural community. It has a mission that says they want to demonstrate leadership in lifestyle, environment, economy, and governance. The plan sets a bunch of priorities, and these are just a snapshot of some of them that are relevant to the work that we're doing today on the visioning exercise. Sets priorities including attainable housing, wants to protect the cultural heritage. It wants a priority on active living, wants to give priority to the stewardship of natural features, and it wants to address the workforce and transportation issues. It wants to actively pursue tourism development. Before I go on, I want Robin to launch the second poll, and then we're going to launch the third one. So Robin, if you could share the second one right now. And I want everybody on the call to again know who else is participating. Are you full-time, year-round, or seasonal resident? Just helps us dissect a little bit who's who. I'll just give it a little minute. And you can see we've got 58 people on the call, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to give it couple more seconds, give you a chance. So there we go. We can end that poll and just sees that it's really interesting that most of you are year-round full-time residents. And we also have some seasonal residents. And then the second one, or the third polling question, Robin, I just want to know more specifically what your connection is to Grey Highlands. I want to know if you've been here less than 7 years, more than 7 years. Does your family have many generations that go back in Grey Highlands? And I'd give it a couple more seconds. Okay, and I think we can end that. I'm not seeing the number go up. So let's share the results of that, Robin. And so there we go. That's a really interesting distribution of some less than 7, more than 7. And some of you have go back many generations in Grey Highlands. So thank you for that. The first question that I want to talk about today is I'm going to leave this up for a minute while we get organized. So I'm interested to know, and we have 4 different questions. So I want to focus this question on the trends. So you can share with me anything you want, but what you think over the past, your experience in Grey Highlands over the past few years, what has happened, what's been happening, what are the trends, what's behavior, what are people doing? You can think of those trends with respect to recreation or tourism or the villages or roads or parking trails, infrastructure. I want to understand what the trends are. So for this first question, I'm going to go through my list of participants. I'm going to call your first name out. I'm going to leave a couple of seconds and see if your mic is coming on. If it's not, I'll go to the next cluster. I'm going to call names out in groups of 3. So my first are Adam, Alex, and Andrew, and I'm going to watch for your mics. Turn on. You don't have to turn your mics on. If I see them not coming on, I'll go to the next cluster. And I know lots of people are here to listen. So I see Andrew's got your mic on. So go ahead, Andrew.
Hi, thank you for having me here today. Not actually a Grey Highlands resident, but I am a resident of Wasaga Beach.
Yep.
And I spend a lot of time in Grey Highlands, Kolapore, hiking and climbing and caving, lots of biking on the trails there. So I would have to say in the last few years, based on my personal experience, I've seen recreation, tourism, and trails, I would think are the biggest pitch here for the Beaver Valley corridor.
Okay. Recreation, tourism, and trails. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So next up, I have Angela Arton. But
Marzolini?
I don't see that yet, but
Okay.
and then I have B. Dunlop and Brennan.
Sorry, Donna, that wasn't Angela.
Okay. Oh, sorry. There you are, Angela. Yes. Sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Angela. Go ahead.
Okay, well, certainly trend more towards more recreation.
Okay.
We see so many people on the trails now, and also cycling as well. Outdoor opportunities, that seems to really be the brand of Beaver Valley. It's an opportunity for people to get outdoors and enjoy nature. And it has all of the great facilities for that, just nature being the facility, I guess.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let me keep going. So then I had B. Dunlop, Brennan. There you
Yes.
go.
Me? Right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi.
Bri.
Oh, I say recreation, tourism, and trails as well.
Okay.
There's a couple new restaurants in Kimberley that certainly is an addition to the area. But recreation, tourism, and trails would be my.
Okay. That is fantastic. Thanks. I think you said your name was Barb. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Let me keep going. So I think next up on my list, and please let Waying know if I'm missing you. I think I called out Arton, Brennan, Brian, Kathy, and Cheryl.
Sorry, my mic was off, but Donna, you missed Alex and Adam. I think you may have called them out, but maybe their mics weren't turned on quickly. I don't know.
So I'll keep an eye out for the mics coming on. If the mics don't come on, I'm going to assume.
Adam's
Hi.
mic is on right now. So
Okay,
let's-
Adam,
Sorry
go
about
ahead.
that. For myself, recreation and trails.
Okay, those are the biggest trends. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Brian, Kathy, and Cheryl.
Sorry, can I interrupt for a second? Is Alex Hogan or a different Alex?
Let me see. That's you. Yep, go ahead.
I just I would echo what previous people have said. Both locals and tourists. The huge influx that we've had prior to, but especially with COVID and the lack of infrastructure becoming apparent. With issues around washrooms and garbage and parking and how to pay for some of that infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of day trippers coming up and coming for the day, but not necessarily using the facilities, but not necessarily spending money, which we need to get them into our local businesses in order to support.
Okay. Are there any specific locations, Alex, that you see this becoming more apparent than in other locations with respect to the lack of infrastructure, the no washrooms and?
I mean, Hogs Falls, the Old Baldy. I think sort of all of the iconic spots that are somewhat overwhelmed.
Okay.
And typically have, inadequate infrastructure.
Okay. Thank you. Let me just pause for a minute. I'm going to go down to the people whose names start with B and C. So just pause to see if there were any other A's that I missed. Okay, so, and we have lots of time for this, so we'll make sure we get to everybody. So I believe I called out Kathy and Cheryl. Not seeing your mics come on. Then I have Cynthia.
Hey Donna, I'm still very new. My name is Chinzia. I'm very new to the area. I actually just moved to the Beaver Valley in December.
Okay.
So I'm here as an observant. I'm also sitting on the board of directors for 100 Acre Preschool as well. So I'm not in a position, of course, to comment too much, but I'm simply here as an observer, and I'm definitely interested to hear some of the dialogue that takes place today.
Great that you're here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then I have Dan or Donald or Dustin.
Yeah, hello Donna.
Hi, Dustin.
Thanks for hosting this. I'm going to have to agree with the trend on recreation, tourism.
Okay.
And also the issue of infrastructure, particularly around the lookouts and the mentioned of Hogs Falls. Sometimes the parking there is outrageous, huge numbers of people, and garbage issues and things of that nature. So those are the trends I've noticed.
And being, obviously different over the last couple of years than it was before.
Yes.
Okay.
This COVID experience we've been having may have been contributing to that.
Yeah.
Past recent summer.
Okay, that's great to know. Thank you for that. Emily, Francis, Gary.
Sorry, it's Dustin here.
Dustin, go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, I'll just go very quickly. I thanks very much for hosting. Agree with what's being said. Recreation, I think, is the main driver here for me. Rock climbing, cycling, etc. And then I think recreation has a direct impact on the trails and parking and infrastructure.
Okay, rock climbing and cycling. Okay, thank you, Dustin.
Donna, I'm seeing some comments in the chat box. Perhaps people who don't want to speak up, but just I'm going to read out a couple of things. Lake Eugenia as a missed opportunity, boat traffic on the lake on the weekends, preserving, protecting the area. So just a couple of things that I'm seeing. Bathrooms at Baldy, for instance.
Yeah. Okay. And that is a great reminder too, that if you'd prefer to share your responses in the chat box, all the content in the chat box, everybody can see. First of all, if you click on that icon, you can see what everybody else is saying, and it also becomes a record of the meeting. So let me go back to where I was. I think I had called out Gary. So I have Greg and Heather. I have two Heathers, Davidson and Kiefer.
Greg,
Hi, Greg.
hello. Anecdotally, but I guess agreeing with the trend, I would say my observations would be around recreation and trails as past few trends, and particularly, using the Bruce Trail and also that of cycling.
Okay. And is that, I realize when I hear people using that word a lot, recreation. And so for you, recreation means hiking and cycling. Primarily, that's the trend.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Greg. The two Heathers, and I have Jane and Jennifer, Joanne.
Hi, this is Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Thanks for having us and letting us make our opinions and viewpoints known.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say that my family and I moved, we're actually in Beaver, but we're just outside the Grey Bruce Highlands.
Yeah.
My family and I moved here about 5 or 6 years ago now. And I'd have to say for the first few years we were here, things actually seemed pretty, like not much was changing too much, but in the past couple of years, I've seen a real push towards recreation and tourism.
Okay.
Both, I guess, maybe people just realizing that the trail system and the recreation systems are here, but also the social media for the tourism industries in the area have really exploded in the last few years. So I feel like that's kind of bringing a lot of traffic in the tourism section.
Is that a good thing or bad thing to you as a resident of Meaford?
I feel like there could be opportunities, but then it kind of tourism needs to be responsible as well. When you have someone coming up, there's the idea of responsible geographical tourism, if you have areas of risk or species at risk or areas or habitats for things that are at risk or of interest. Yeah. And people are just coming for their one photo, tromping in, dropping their garbage, and then they're driving off afterwards. They're not really maybe the type of tourists you want to attract to that area.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Jennifer or Joel or Joanna?
Hey, Joanne here.
Hi.
I will echo what most people have already been saying. There's been a huge influx of tourism that I've noticed increased exponentially in the last couple of years. And I think that places like all the points of interest, and in particular places, because I'm in Eugenia, places like Eugenia Falls, the lake, Old Baldy, we somehow have to find ways to manage the public in a way that's not going to overwhelm a lot of these beautiful natural things that we have.
Yeah. Okay. And when you talk about it increasing exponentially, take the lake, what does that look like to you? Is it just the parking lot is overflowing, people are parked on the streets? What does it look like? What are the impacts?
Well, parking lot overflowing for sure. It has meant for we who live here, changes in how we can access some of the things that we're used to having free access to.
Yeah.
And crowds, people, and problems at Eugenia Falls with people falling and then having it closed off, so it's inaccessible for parts of the year when we used to be able to access.
Yep. Okay.
These kinds of areas.
Okay. Okay. And things like the beach at the lake, do you find that on a hot summer weekend, it's hard to get on the beach?
Absolutely. It's very crowded. It's a small beach to start with.
It is. Yeah.
I just don't go to the lake on the weekends.
Okay. 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 Thanks, Joanne.
Okay.
I'm going to go down my list again. So I got Kimmy and Kit and Lorraine.
Hi, it's Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. I'd just like to add that where I'm seeing a big impact is with traffic.
Okay.
I'm in Flesherton. I think Flesherton's really bearing the brunt of the traffic that's coming both to go to the valley and also continuing north.
Yeah, because it's a funneling point up. Yeah.
And so now people are avoiding the stoplight in the center of town and coming through our neighborhoods.
Oh.
And they are speeding through these neighborhoods.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
I've made a big effort to try to have community safety zones, and it never went anywhere. And
Okay.
we need support from the municipality working with the county and the province to make our roads safer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good point. I have not heard that yet today. So thank you for that. Especially the infiltration through the adjacent neighborhoods and people coming off the highway. Okay.
Donna, we
Thanks.
missed Judy Halpern.
Okay, go ahead, Judy.
Thanks.
It's Judy and Rob. We actually live on the lake, but
Okay.
we choose whenever possible to leave on weekends because
Oh my goodness.
it's so busy.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And, granted, that's a lot to do with people who have cottages on the lake that are using it on the weekends. We happen to be full-time residents, so we have the luxury of using it during the week.
Yeah.
We would concur with the trend of people trying to avoid the traffic lights in Flesherton. We've seen people peel off to the left and
Okay.
right. And also the trends in recreation and tourism and trail use. The falls in Eugenia are a particular concern, as Joanne was saying, that it's been closed a number of times in the past year.
Okay.
So there's some kind of infrastructure or somebody that's working at the site to monitor its use. I imagine that the Conservation Authority has some data on that and how that worked this past summer.
Okay.
They had someone there on a part-time basis. And also sort of not so much an issue, but a situation that's been present in the last number of years is cyclists on the roads. And I think that is still something that needs to be considered. And if they add a cycling lane or whatever, there's going to be questions as to who funds that and so on. So,
are the cyclists impeding your use and enjoyment? Okay.
They're riding 2 and 3 abreast. But
okay. Okay.
The last couple of years, it has improved both in terms of cyclists respecting motorists trying to get by and motorists respecting the cyclists' right to use the road.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you for that.
Hi, it's Kit Redding here.
Yep,
Thanks,
Kit, go
Dan,
ahead.
for opening up this for everyone. It's great to have some feedback and hear what everyone else is saying. I too live in Eugenia and only been here for a few years, but love it here. And a couple notes that I've just got here are, I just don't see anything around sort of food and drink from that initial list. I'm not sure if we're getting into that down the road, but think that there's great opportunities with all the great general stores and some of the restaurants that are coming to the area that have been in Toronto for quite some time that have such a reputation. I think Hart's is opening up soon in Kimberley, but we've got Justin's Oven, Flying Chestnut, all these other great culinary experiences, and just felt that was a bit missing off your list.
That is fantastic. Thank you.
The other notes I've got here too are just, around the recreation side of things, just embracing experiential activities for people. I think people are looking for things to do and looking for combinations of things to do. One of the ideas I always thought would be great for Talisman would be cat skiing. As much as it is a very small hill and resort, there's still that experience and that cliche or that cachet tied to skiing and experiencing the outdoors and having something there that's similar to like an Island Lake Lodge out in Canmore, and thought that would be sort of a neat activity that those that may not be able to travel out west could still sort of take that in and enjoy it. So ideas around that.
And what did you call the skiing?
Cat skiing. So you can take a snow cat up in smaller groups and ski down the hill and look at having a nice sort of lodge at the bottom. So it's sort of like an all-inclusive vacation for people that like to ski and enjoy the winter time.
Okay. Okay.
So a little more experiential than just showing up to Blue Mountain and riding the chairlift kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think as COVID, has changed things for now and perhaps even forever, I think that there's some neat opportunities around those niche activities that the valley could easily embrace and look to grow tourism.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, thank you.
Other thoughts I had were just a way to sort of increase visitor flow around the different areas. I think a lot of people know the spots that are popular, but how do we get people to visit all the other areas and maybe have something that creates more flow around instead of sort of showing up at the falls and spending all afternoon there. How do we get people to sort of enjoy Hogs Falls, Eugenia Falls, and maybe Baldy? Maybe that's done through some sort of tours or quests or something that could be kind of fun that sort of gets people engaged in what there is around here.
Okay.
And from recreation, I think fishing, canoeing, kayaking, obviously cycling and things like that's popular, but some of the other activities are maybe a bit off the beaten path might be of benefit too, which, like I just said, fishing in the Beaver Valley, Beaver River is quite well known among many fly fishermen. And so things like that. And then I think the biggest thing as well too, is I've been seeing a lot of litter lately. And I think the COVID face masks are becoming the new cigarette boxes. So, I think that just something around how to deal with that would be.
That's a really good point. Yes, we've all seen that. I think your point about making people aware of the whole system of attractions in the area, there's something really important about that. And sure, everybody has been to places that do a really great job of sharing information of the whole network of attractions and destinations in any given area with some terrific mapping and just sharing information in a different way.
I understand how busy those areas are too, because that might affect where people decide to go and visit too, so if Eugenia Falls is already at capacity, there's many different technologies that are out there that can inform visitors that Eugenia is already at its max. Go check out Hogs Falls, or Hogs Falls is already busy. Go for a little hike around Old Baldy for a half hour, then come back to Eugenia Falls or something like that.
Okay. Thank you. Let me go down the list. We're coming up on 22.
Hello, I think you missed me, Lorraine.
Hi, Lorraine. No, I haven't quite got to you, but that's okay. I'm just getting into the M's now. I did miss you. Sorry.
I'm
alphabet exercise. Okay, go ahead, Lorraine.
Okay, thanks. Yes, appreciate the fact that you're doing this consultation for Grey Highlands. It's great. I guess I'd like to say that the trends are similar. Recreation, I would call it over tourism. We are past tourism. We are now over tourism by all the symptoms that people are seeing: parking, garbage, lineups, over tourism. And I think my experience is I live downriver, and I live at the Slabtown Dam on the Beaver River, and people get in at Kimberley or they get in at Epping, and they get out at the Slabtown Dam because below the dam is not deep enough, and they leave dirty diapers. They leave garbage. They leave their blown up float Walmart toilets, which don't work anymore. Never experienced that before. Paddlers, kayakers are respectful of the river, but we've been getting all kinds of disrespect for nature, the river, and the people who already live here. And I think that has been, in fact, from social media a lot. They suggest go to places, but they do not suggest take your own picnic lunch or buy in the local restaurant. Do not leave your garbage. Do not go wherever you like. So there are all kinds of things that are problematic in perpetuating and increasing the flow of tourists here. I think we need to find a way to balance reasonable visitors and really, we don't want to become Banff on a bad July day. So those, and I really think we need to be thoughtful about really low impact, non-mechanized, and how are we going to deal with parking? Right. If we keep inviting people to come here to our beautiful valley, maybe it should be a lottery. You win the lottery, you get to come. 16 people in July. Okay, that's my concerns.
Okay, thank you, Lorraine. And we've just had the one session this morning, and we did hear a lot about parking and issues with respect to garbage. So I can see that is definitely one of the trends. All right.
I see that we missed Judy Galloway. She has her hand up.
Yep, go ahead, Judy.
Just turn on your mic, or should we do that?
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I agree with Lorraine. We are very involved with the Bruce Trail.
Yeah.
In the past 2 years, we've seen uncontrolled parking, garbage at main trail sites, not really people hiking a lot, but people, because of social media, coming to those sites and just kind of being there.
Okay.
I think that has to be somehow controlled.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Judy.
Also under concerns, we're talking a lot about recreation, but some of us still live here on a permanent basis.
Yep.
And have been through this before. I mean, this isn't the first time we've had recreation activities happening in the valley.
Yep.
Tal's been operated for years and years. And the one other thing that's missing from that opportunity is all of the jobs that it created. We need to look at that as well.
Okay. The need for having kinds of development that create jobs. That's what you're
That's for
saying?
sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, let me keep going down the list. I had Mandy, Mark, and Matt. I'm going to take this to 2 o'clock and then we're going to switch gears.
We're getting lots of really helpful and fulsome comments in the chat box. I'm not going to read them, but I'm just going to say thank you to everyone who's spending some time putting their thoughts in there.
Yeah, I threw my comments. It's Mandy, by the way. I threw my
Okay.
comments in the chat box. I just figured that's easier than taking up people who have bigger things to say. But thanks again for having us.
Okay, thanks, Mandy.
Thanks.
Nadia, Nancy, Paula.
Hi.
Hi, Paula. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with everyone so far. I mean, you know, the trends are clearly the trails, tourism, recreation. People are coming to look for, you know, different things to do and get out. In terms of the issues, I absolutely reiterate the concern around garbage. I personally called out a very large family that came to visit, and we were at Hogs Falls at the time, and they left. I think it was who was it who just mentioned that about a dirty diaper?
Yeah.
They had shoved 2 dirty diapers in the rock face. And I saw them doing it as they were climbing up the Hogs Fall trail. And I called them out and I said, come back down
Good for
and
you.
grab your dirty diaper, and you cannot do this. And
Good
so
for you.
I think, you know, if this area is also a UNESCO World Biosphere, you know, I think a lot more signage could be done to reiterate the value and the importance of the nature and what this represents. And
Okay.
in addition to outlining, you know, all the wonderful trail systems, but really to teach, because I think this is an educational issue for some people. They don't get it. They don't understand nature from that perspective. I mean, to be so blatantly leaving something like that and other garbage. It was, you know, just to me, you know, struck home the fact that people, you know, are really missing the boat on.
Okay.
on
But
that.
you know, your point of just to tell people about the value, to share that information about it being how easy would something like that be? That feels like a low hanging fruit. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Paula.
Donna, can I interrupt you to maybe turn over to Mark Brown? I don't know if we missed him, or is he coming up next? But anyways, Mark would like to share some thoughts.
Sure. Go ahead, Mark.
Good. So I'm so happy to hear other people supporting what I'm seeing. I live at the bottom of the falls. I'm on the road with Hogs Falls. I am the first property after the Crown land. And the trespassing is insane. The parking, you know, some people at Eugenia Lake said they don't leave. I can't decide if I should leave on the weekend and attempt to get through that, or if I should stay put because I kind of have to defend people like literally walking into my maple pump house on their own self-guided tour. You know, they want to access the bottom of the falls from here. So it's very, like, the over tourism comment is totally on point. And Jane said the type of people that we're getting, and that is really the change. I supported the Bruce Trail on my land voluntarily for a long time before I sold part of it to them. And if I could reverse time, I wouldn't have done that. I would not have sold, and I wouldn't have supported it, because the type of people we have now, I literally get into arguments.
What does
about
that
whether
mean to you, the type of people? What kind of people are you getting now that's different from before?
So it's pretty hard to conceptualize just what exactly type that is, but the respect level, I guess I'm talking about respect level from people.
Okay.
You know, they leave trash, they have a campfire, they argue with you about whether they can be on your property or not.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
They park in, like, they literally, there are days I've had them park in my personal driveway. That's obviously my driveway, inside the gate, and I couldn't leave.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So it's beyond ridiculous at this point.
Okay.
And we got to be careful. I think what we do need to do is, there are those people that are coming for the day trip, and we have to respect that. You know, they need a place to go. So let's pick some hot spots where they can go. And let's promote those. Let's put the parking lots there. Let's put up the concession stands. Let's put the garbage cans in. Let's do whatever they want, right, at those spots. And let's have respect for the people that live here, for the rest of the places, because we don't want to become the rec room for Toronto or London or whatever place that happens to be. I mean, God love those people. They're all wonderful. I'm not saying that a Toronto person is horrible, but you know, there is basically, I put in the comments, we don't want to pave paradise to put up a parking lot. And that's what's happening right now.
Okay.
And so it needs to be controlled.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Very interesting perspective. Let me go to Peter.
Yeah, Peter's here.
Hey, Peter, do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, and Nancy and I have been here for 33 years.
Oh my goodness.
And we've certainly seen an increase on the roads.
Okay.
And on the facilities. In other words, there's great increase. I recognize it as a spillover from Collingwood. So in other words, there are people on the Collingwood side who are busy promoting the Beaver Valley as either the river or the trails. So it's become an adjunct. So people are spilling over from there. And we live about a mile from the call it the entrance or the exit to the Beaver River. The Epping Side Road crosses the Beaver River. It's a horrible situation most summer weekends, because there is some parking, but not nearly enough for what is needed nowadays.
Okay.
So
okay.
The other thing, which isn't so much a comment on your list, but Nancy and I thought about this, and there isn't much mention of the scientific interest. I'm a geologist.
Yeah.
And so there isn't much mention of, what the borders of the Beaver Valley are really all about. In other words, how they got there.
Yeah.
And what they represent. That doesn't seem to be too much mention of the native peoples that lived here.
Yeah.
Lived here until fairly recently. I first began living here 10 or 11,000 years ago. So it's,
okay. So the sharing stories of the First Nations, Indigenous, Métis communities. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
I've got Rachel, Rich, Mari and Rob. Rachel, your mic's on.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel, go ahead.
I wanted to point out that perhaps my husband and I are actually one of those trends of younger folks,
Nice.
under the age of 40 who are moving up, living full time in the area, and who are also small business owners who may or may not be related to tourism or people coming to visit for different reasons. I
Okay.
mean, we're all here in the chat. I don't want to point people out or single people out in particular, but certainly I know Francis and Joel Lohead, both of whom are a similar age to myself and my husband. Francis is a photographer, a small business in the area. Melanie Hill, who has made comments in the chat, also a small business in the area. We are not always as visible in terms of folks undertaking economic activity in the area because we aren't as explicitly tied to tourism, but we are part of those full-time folks who have established our lives here and are hoping to have families, build our families, and stay long-term. So,
and you're running businesses, you're entrepreneurs, you're running your own businesses. Okay.
Yes. And
that,
none of
to
us
your point, that aren't necessarily tied to tourism, but they're businesses.
Absolutely. And we are hilariously a little bit of a trend, right? Like small businesses, younger folks kind of moving to the area. This ties directly into what kinds of businesses are sustainable, what kind of economic development is sustainable for people to be able to stay and be able to afford a home and afford to be able to run their businesses here. I think also it's a big question for us longer term. Do our communities become safe places for our children? If cars are ripping through Kimberley at 70 kilometers an hour, is that safe for us to have our kids outside playing on the sidewalk or in the front yard? And also, what kinds of jobs are we talking about when we talk about development and economic development, right? As an entrepreneur, this is my risk that I take on, but then also the opportunity for me is huge. Are we talking about bringing in businesses and building businesses where maybe someday a teenager of mine might be able to get a minimum wage job? Or are we talking about jobs where people can actually buy homes at the prices that they're at now, right? Like that's a giant question mark for us in terms of the future. So,
and I think the purpose of these conversations is to talk about all those things from the people who are joining the calls from their own individual perspective. So what kind of jobs do you think is important from your own personal perspective? So when you talk about your kids one day being able to...
I think about it from the perspective of what does it take to keep a well-rounded community functioning, right? So it's not just tourism related jobs, even though they are very important, if it means that we've got a good foundation there. It also means making this a great place for folks in the trades to be able to set up and find lots of opportunity in the area and promoting the area for that. It involves in the healthcare sector, of course, with Markdale so close and the hospital, new hospital being built, and a population that does have a lot of older folks, in the area as well. Like we're going to have long-term needs for a well-rounded economy, in part, sustained by tourism, but also by people making things like Mark mentioned earlier with his like businesses that are making things, businesses that are sharing things.
Okay. That is fantastic. We have not heard much on that yet in the conversations that we've had. So thank you for that. But just coming up on 2 o'clock, we've got lots of time left. I'm just going to quickly go through the rest of the list, and then I'm going to move on from this question. So for the rest of the people, I'm just going to ask you to instead raise your hand if you have something that you want to share.
Rich is it Mary or Mari? Rich.
Hi, can you hear us?
Go ahead.
Good.
Yeah, Rich and Mari.
Hi, we've been living in the area now for about 10 years. We're up towards the top of your map on where the road that says Epping and goes east-west.
Yeah.
And I am also an entrepreneur, a small business manufacturer. I ship globally. Fortunately, don't have to rely on Canada. We've seen a massive influx in recreation and tourism in the area, and unfortunately, it's had a terrible effect on things. The parking by the access point 2, that's basically a fatality waiting to happen come the summer, because now the cars are parked so far on either side of the bridge, double parked.
Yeah.
Children run around there. There's no washroom facilities. My wife and my sister and my nephew were coming out of our house, and our driveway is long and comes out onto the side road. When they pulled up onto the street to look left and right, they looked left and there was a gentleman. Well, I couldn't really call him a gentleman because he had his business tackle out and he was urinating on the side of our lawn.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't even bother to stop when the 2 ladies were looking at him. Okay, there is garbage all over the street.
Increase.
Okay.
You can educate all the people you want, and you can tax all the people you want, but it will not stop people from throwing their bag of garbage out the window or jamming their diapers in a rock. I mean, there's no education. People have no respect.
So what would you do? What would you do, Rich, if you were king? What would you
if I were king, I'd put gates around the whole red area.
Yeah.
and we would enjoy
aside
this,
from that,
this beautiful. There's got to be a way. I mean, it's a beautiful area, and it's got to be enjoyed by everybody. But the infrastructure cannot sustain it. And somebody had posted in the comments, let's ignore this COVID influx, and you can't ignore it because it's coming again this summer. Yeah. And who knows if it's coming again next summer and what all these people are going to do. The what?
Okay.
We
this is a good one.
Have found out the people that are coming. I think with education we can do with signage.
Yes.
Signage, please respect.
Yes.
Adding more garbage facilities, et cetera. But I also feel that on the side roads we really need some speed regulations.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Last summer, I was nearly killed because I was working in my garden at the top of the driveway. And as I turned to walk down the driveway, a speeding woman lost control, went through the driveway and into the ditch right behind the garbage box, nearly taking me out.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I think something really needs to be done. It is not the local people who speed. It is the tourists. It's the people who come up from Toronto. Since they've developed Shelburne, now it's a day trip. So we are going to be getting more people.
Yeah.
So I feel that education, signage, and maybe even some kind of thing in the local papers, hey, come on up and enjoy us. But while you're here, please do this and don't do that.
That is a great suggestion. Okay. Thank you for that. Wanda, you've got your hand up, and then I'm going to wrap this one up and go on to another question. So if anybody else wants to share thoughts, just raise your hand. Okay, Wanda, and then Stuart. Wanda, go ahead. Oh, just unmute yourself.
Hi there.
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
A lot of the points that I intended to make have already been given
Okay.
about the level of tourism and recreation not being supported by the infrastructure in this area. I'm a 4th generation Grey Highlands person in actually in the same family home.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I moved back 5 years ago to find it a very different place, and the last couple of years extremely different. I have some specific concerns that weren't addressed well. One of them being the increased usage of ATVs on all of our forest trails and roads and near the falls, and it seems as though there are no restrictions, or if they are, that they're being ignored. And I've noticed, especially in trails near the Eugenia Falls, that it's eroding the land and even into the water and the rock. Just creating a terrible mess. They're very loud, and
they are.
On weekends in particular, our enjoyment of the village has been declining all the time because of the noise of the speeding cars on any street that people think might take them to the boat launch. Speeding cars, street racing, but particularly convoys of ATVs who cutting across lawns, spewing up gravel, and basically ruining our walking trails. So that's one thing that really concerns me. Another is that, as has been pointed out, there are not enough washrooms or garbage disposal containers. They're parking on both sides of the village streets, and with the unbridled real estate sales and development, there are no sidewalks. There's no protection of heritage trees, which are coming down at an alarming rate without any concern from anybody that's building that I can see. Well, not always, I shouldn't make that generalization, but many builders or people building have not shown concern for heritage trees. The garbage pickup, when there are garbage containers, is very uncertain, often overflowing or left for days or weeks and not picked up by our local garbage people, probably because they either are not aware that they're there, or they haven't been instructed to add those areas or they're to their pickup. The beach in Eugenia is it's always been small and it's always been way too close to the boat launch, but now with the insane boat traffic and the size of boats and the number of sea-doos, it's made swimming actually very unhealthy and somewhat unattractive because of the boat fumes and the noise and the danger. Now when you're swimming, the sea-doos often come extremely close up to swimmers, and there's overflow parking there. There's overflow parking around the falls. There's garbage.
I did notice at the beach that there were the metal posts that try and define the area of swimming, but I'm sure swimmers go swim in between the posts and out into the larger body of water.
They come so close to the post that even if you're swimming just inside, it's very unnerving. But yes, it is. It's so crowded in the water, you often want to swim on the other side of the posts.
So let me go on. That's fantastic, Wanda. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
So Stuart, is there anything that we have, if you want to share anything that we haven't heard? So we've heard a lot about garbage and traffic and no washroom facilities, other trends that we haven't heard yet about.
Well, yes, am I?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Donna, I've had a store on County Road 13 called Eugenia Falls Emporium. For 21 years. I live on Lake Eugenia, was involved in a lot of different things. My conclusion, and it's been very, very interesting to listen to all these wonderful people. They pointed out, I don't think there's a problem that hasn't been pointed out. Okay. So all I can offer is perhaps maybe a solution. We have too many people looking after and not taking full responsibility. So I'm not sure how the Niagara Park Commission was formed, but I'm suggesting that we form the Beaver Valley Corridor Commission, like our Park Commission, just like Niagara did. There's got to be one authority that's responsible for solving this problem. There's MNR, there's Ray Sobel, et cetera, et cetera. There's too many people, and you can't pull it together. So I'm suggesting that perhaps we investigate that as a solution going forward.
Okay. That is a great suggestion. Thank you, Stuart.
And also one other thing that Alex Hogan pointed out: how do we pay for all of this?
Yes,
those are the only two things that I think need to be addressed. They're solutions oriented. Thank you.
Anybody else before I move on to the next question? Give you your next assignment. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I want to understand how the Beaver Valley Corridor relates to other regional destinations. And so we've put on this list the shoreline of Lake Huron, the Bruce Peninsula, Manitoulin Island just off the screen, Georgian Bay, Collingwood, of that Midland, Meaford, Muskoka, Niagara. And I'm not going to go down the list for this question, but I am going to ask people to use that raise the hand function, or just to put your hand up, and Wai Ying or I will keep an eye out for the hand. So any observations that you can help us with, share what you think the relationship is between the Beaver Valley and those other places. Or is there any relationship? We certainly heard from some that there is no relationship. I mean, one that's apparent is obviously the relationship being on this huge system called the Niagara Escarpment. That's how Beaver Valley relates to Niagara. But other things in particular, like in particular Collingwood or other nearby places. So I got Stuart and Lorraine that got hands up. So we'll just take a couple of minutes on this one. So Stuart, do you want to get us started? The relationship to the other destinations, regional.
Well, of course, Muskoka and Huntsville, I think that's a model that you've got to look at.
In what way? What have they done right?
The accomplishment that it actually all started probably with the G8 conference there, and dear the lodge, etc. The fact that the University of Waterloo has an environmental center. The fact is that the municipality of town of Huntsville probably has more resources than Grey Highlands, but they're involved in developing that concept in Huntsville. So I think also there's
when you say concept, you mean around the environmental center that Waterloo started?
the whole package.
Okay.
Also, there's one in the township of Georgina, where the municipality stepped up and has got a recreational convention center, everything all packed into, and it was all funded by development charges. That's one to look at. We looked at it many years ago as a model. Also, I just mentioned the Niagara Escarpment or the Niagara Parks Commission. I also noticed today that, or just recently, that the province or the federal government is now putting funding out to the conservation authorities. Conservation authorities' pure mandate is not tourism. All right, so I don't know whether they should outsource that or whatever. But we also, so there's a lot of things that we need to look at what I would call the upper levels of how to come up with solutions. I mean, the list we've had the list of problems. I think we now need to focus on solutions.
On the solutions. I love that. I love that, Stuart. Thank you. Lorraine, you're next up.
Thanks. I guess one of my senses is that back to social media. Social media says this is a wonderful place to come to, but they don't say, and here's your efficiency route, go on Highway 10, go on Highway 6. If you want an efficiency route, and to use realistic timeframes. It does not take an hour and a half to get to Tobermory from Toronto. It takes quite a bit more. So, if you're trying to get to the ferry, then what's the efficiency route to get to the ferry to Manitou?
Okay. And so you're saying that's more about sharing information and marketing and being more accurate with the information.
And also giving them alternate routes. If you want the scenic route, then here are the scenic routes.
Okay.
But if you're taking the scenic route, please be respectful. I think the thing about, is this, a corridor for other destinations? It depends on where you're starting. If you're coming from London, well, yes, you're going to Orillia and Muskoka. But if you're coming from, Peterborough, it's a whole different place. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective. Okay. So what direction you're coming at has an effect on how it relates to those areas. So whether you're coming from the south or the north or the east. Okay. Thanks, Lorraine. Dustin.
Yeah, thanks. So something that's really close to my heart around here, and a couple of people on the call know me and know that, is rock climbing.
Yep.
And in 2010 in the GTA, there was 4 rock climbing gyms. I think today there's over 20. So there's been a pretty significant boom in the sport. And as those folks from the gyms start to go outside, the best places to climb in Southern Ontario are in the Beaver Valley and the Bruce Peninsula.
Is that? Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's actually 2 guidebooks, both of them that explain the area pretty well and where to climb.
Okay.
And I just think it's something that should be considered because it's a really strong connection to the Bruce Peninsula.
And where is it? Where is the best place to climb in the Beaver Valley? Is it on this map?
So there's many areas. Old Baldy permits climbing. Metcalf Rock also permits climbing. Devil's Glen Provincial Park. Kalapur Lowlands has some climbing in it. There's other areas around as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Anybody else on the relationship of the Beaver Valley corridor to other? Yep, Nadia, go ahead.
Hi there. So when we do think about the Beaver Valley area, it's not just about sort of, how people come through the area, but we also have to think about it as an ecosystem. So we do have to think about the wildlife, the corridors we do provide for the wildlife, the watershed as well, which is very important. So, so I think, with that layer of thinking also has to be taken into consideration.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that is a really good point. And in our earlier call, we did hear mention of the connection to Collingwood because the river empties into the bay. So that was a really good connection for us to make. So thanks for that, Nadia. And Wanda, do you have other thoughts to share? And then I'm going to move on to another question. Just need your mic on.
I lived for 11 years in Elora, and I compared the Eugenia Falls area to the Elora Gorge, and they have done quite a good job of preserving the Elora Gorge and handling the massive amount of traffic. And there are a couple of things that they have taken under their wing. Tree preservation, they're very protective of their trees, gardens, natural environment, and the education that goes around that to the whole community. And there's signage for people coming in to respect that.
Okay.
And they have good trail signage with usage directions on them.
Okay.
And there's also, someone mentioned steps down to the bottom of the gorge as being a possibility. I think that that's doable. And the Elora Gorge has at least 2 areas where they have clear access down to the gorge, which prevents people from trying to scale other areas that are unsafe.
Okay.
That's
okay.
all.
Thanks for that. Okay. I'm just going to lower your hand. There you go, Nadia or Wanda. Okay. Thank you very much for that on question 2. So the next one, I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to do a couple of things for this. I'm going to stop sharing this screen in a minute. I want to have you share your thoughts on words or phrases that we should capture in an overarching vision statement for the Beaver Valley Corridor. So a vision statement is an aspirational statement that describes a preferred future. And as a point of reference, I put on here the word cloud that we made when we asked you what words or phrases best describe the valley to you. So now we're the vision statement moving forward, the Beaver Valley should be. And when you think of those words, I want you to think about how we packaged your words first round: natural features, recreation, management, economic development, character. I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to put up a whiteboard. And I am going to do a couple of things. One is you have many ways to share those words and phrases. You can put them in the chat box and Wai Ying will monitor that chat box. You can, good old-fashioned way, get a piece of paper and do this, and we will be watching for those words. Or you can use the whiteboard. So I'm going to ask Wai Ying just to come on and explain to people how you use the whiteboard.
Yeah.
While you do that, I'm going to do my test.
Recognizing that everyone's screen might be different, go to the top of your page, I believe, and there's a button called View Options. If you click on that, there's a drop-down menu, and it includes Annotate as one of the options. So if you click on that, your menu should pop up on your screen. And then once you have that screen, you can choose or select any of the options here: text, draw, stamp. There's a lot of options under there. And then you can even change the color of your text. So if you hit text, for instance, and then hit sort of click on the whiteboard, a text box should come up. Yeah. And then you can type your comments, suggestions, thoughts in there, and then just click away from it once you're done so that you can input that text box onto the whiteboard.
And if you want to change the color, click on the, like you said, Wai Ying. Thanks for, and we love the diagrams. Yes, thank you. Change the color if you want, but also put it in the chat box. And Wai Ying, you just read out any that you get in the chat box. So this is words, phrases that could go in a vision statement. Yeah, that is great. Or just hold up your piece of paper old school to this camera. We'll keep an eye on those too. Just take a minute. So what we're imagining after we do all 6 sessions, we're going to look at the whole collection of words and craft that statement that might be 1 or 2 sentences. And we're thinking that under that statement, there might be a number of fundamental principles that would direct planning and development in the corridor.
I see in the chat box, irreplaceable.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, that is a great word. Great phrase, I mean, and word. Yeah. That's great. So everybody should be able to be seeing protecting nature, proactive. I mean, that is a great word too. Just getting out in front and telling people what you want. You're never going to get what you want unless you tell people this is what's important to us. That is really great. Anything else coming in the chat box, Wai Ying?
Yeah, actually quite a bit.
Okay,
I
so
see
just
here,
read some of those out.
Yeah, bold economic vision equals green innovation and knowledge base. Enjoy nature and preserve it. Enjoy the outdoors and arts and crafts in the Beaver Valley in a sustainable way. A managed area like the Niagara Commission concept, not appointed by the province government, provincial government, but perhaps elected by Grey County residents.
Yeah, thanks.
To conserve wildlife, the escarpment, birds, the watershed, plant habitat, and to contribute to climate stability. Sustainable, responsible, respectful management and preservation of what the earth has provided and we cannot replace. Again, irreplaceable, respecting and enjoying nature. Lots of sustainability mentioned quite often, protected, inclusive. Education is coming up, beyond signage. Educate the public who uses the area beyond signage. Well-rounded, accessible, sustainable future for the Beaver Valley, with vibrant opportunity for local residents, the regional community, and future generations. It's wonderful.
Okay, that's great. That is fantastic. So, Robin, if you can get a screen capture of that and then let me know when I can close it.
Yes, okay.
We're good. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm going to go back to my other screen. Thank you very much. That is really terrific input. Now, where was I? We talked about that. So this one. So now we have talked a little bit about the opportunities, but now I want to focus just right on the opportunities for change. So what are those opportunities for change that, if pursued, would result in a positive outcome for Grey Highlands and for the community, it's the entire community, whether you live in Kimberley or Flesherton or by the lake, the entire community. So let's talk specifically about opportunities. And so for this one, I'm going to revert back to the hands and just look for your hand. You can either wave it, you can send Wai Ying a note in the chat box to say you want to speak, but I want to understand specific opportunities. Now, yep, there we go, Andrew, go ahead. Yep.
Hi again. So I just wanted to talk more on the tourism, the trails, connectivity, and economic development. So as there's been a lot of mention about cycling within the Grey Highlands community, which I am an avid outdoors person myself. I enjoy mountain biking, cycling, snowboarding, hiking, camping, all those types of outdoor activities. So just a statistic here, the global mountain bike market was projected to reach 78.5 million units by 2027. During the COVID-19 crisis, the global market actually surpassed 78.5 million in the year 2020 alone, when it was projected for 2027. The original number was 44.2 million. So I believe for the growing economy in Grey Highland and for the local development and sustainability within the community and creating jobs within Grey Highlands, I think a revival project for the Talisman Resort would be great. You know, building a cyclist playground, if you will. So cross country, downhill, enduro. So what I'm thinking
For cycling, for cycling you're talking
about. And I mean,
about.
that's my primary goal for joining this today, was to revive Talisman Resort. Obviously, there's
as a cycling destination, as a place for mountain bikers. Okay.
That's correct. So I realize this encompasses the entire Beaver Valley corridor.
Oh,
but,
fair enough.
I think cycling is a great opportunity within the Beaver Valley corridor. You can put cross-country trails in the Kimberley forests. You can put a downhill track at the old Talisman Resort. Like I said, I've worked out some figures, have a business plan, have a petition and everything prepared, which I will send to your office. But I believe that tourism will help boost the local economy. And there's several different, the only issue would be the cost of insurance and the cost of putting in a lift.
Okay.
I understand those are substantial costs, but it would be, the lift would be a one-time cost. Obviously, we need to get somebody in there to inspect and have a look at the old infrastructure that is there to see if it's usable, because recycling would be better than, you know, redeveloping. And
because I was going to ask when you started off by saying cycling, because we have heard about issues from others about the pack cyclers going on the roads, and I wanted to pick your brain about how you would manage that issue of cyclists going in a pack and taking up the lane of traffic. Have you experienced anywhere where they've been able to manage that issue?
I haven't, although there's been some good suggestions in the chat about, you know, widening the roadways with large paved shoulders. That would definitely help. But again, we're also taking away, if we're adding, paving paradise to make a parking lot. It's the expression, right? So we're going to be taking up the beautiful space on the roadways and, incorporating more asphalt. Whereas I would think that the most sustainable option would be using the environment that's already there and really focusing on the mountain biking side of cycling. It's it has a very small footprint within the environment, right? We'd use natural tracks that are already there. You could build bridges and little infrastructures over, creeks and right. And mountain bikers are very resourceful in finding material for such activities.
They are. Yes, they are. Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
You're very welcome.
Any other perspectives on what are some of the biggest opportunities that would result in a positive outcome?
Hi, Lorraine here.
Hi, Lorraine.
Hi. Sorry, I was trying to type something in the chat at the same time. I guess one of the things I think is critical is that in this corridor, if we want to maintain it for wildlife and birds and a pure watershed and whatever else, then one of our opportunities is, so I'm not on the same page as Andrew, it's purchase the Grey Highlands land and former Talisman and create a nature preserve.
Okay.
With perhaps, once we've managed that, a small, very sustainable eco-lodge kind of thing for people so that they could be there for more than one night or one day trip. And that I would imagine could provide decent paying non-seasonal jobs for staff. It would also be able to provide guides and expertise as part of the sort of educational component so that people do develop the respect. The corridor for the Beaver Valley is fragmented, and it's fragmented in large part because of the former Talisman. And that was built a long time ago. Life has moved on. We don't suggest that people who used to drive before seat belts are allowed to not wear their seat belts. We move on with what's needed in our new understanding of the world. So I think
thanks,
really an important kind of thing to take a look at.
Okay, and that's, the beauty of this kind of forum is that everybody gets to hear a whole range of opinions on various topics. And so for that, I am thankful that we have this opportunity for people to share their own thoughts from their own perspective, and everybody on the call can hear that there's multiple opinions. So who else? I am sure lots of people have opinions on some of the opportunities. Waying, do you want to read out what we're getting in the chat box? Anything with respect to ideas? And then I see Nadia.
Yeah, lots of response to what Jason was mentioning about the bikes, but I think people were focused on the bikes, getting them off the roads. The paved wide shoulders thing. People are saying yes to the Eco Lodge with educators on how to use the area sustainably. There's a lot of agreement with Lorraine on that point, and support for that idea.
Okay.
Are road cyclists members of I'm just reading this association that can contribute to the cost of enlarging the shoulder of the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go to Nadia. You've got your hand up, Nadia.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I believe, we are getting all this over tourism is because people are discovering nature again.
Yeah.
And that is what our area is known for. And it's a very unique piece of land, as we all know. So I think we have to double down on our strengths, which is to preserve and restore the UNESCO, unique land that we do have.
Yeah.
But then also start to think about, well, how else can we sort of work with that, and what else can we promote? I think one piece is education, because it is such a unique piece of land. I've always wondered, is there an opportunity to partner, say, with universities or colleges, create satellites, in the area, in partnerships to do research or think about green innovation, green knowledge.
Yeah.
When we think about, Talisman and the fact that, it was a good revenue stream for the municipality as well, and that's gone. But instead of just keeping a marginalized view of, okay, how do we get that specific piece of sort of revenue back from this piece of land? Can we think more boldly about how we do think about our economy? I do like the thread that has been sort of been going through the conversation about more sustainable jobs beyond the seasonal jobs. So again, could we be the area for green innovation, green knowledge, and tie it back to the universities?
Yeah.
So I think as a municipality, as a county, we have to think a lot more boldly about the economy.
And that's what boldly means. It means to you focusing on one particular sector, like what you mentioned, green innovation. That would be a way that says we are known for. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's sort of taking the strengths of nature, preserve. We have a lot of green here. It's a very unique landscape. And then how do you build on that?
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
And who's that?
Sorry, that's Paula. I don't know how to raise my hand.
Oh, there you are, Paula. Okay.
I just really think what Nadia said is so smart. My original idea for Talisman was that it would have more of a recreational component to it, but in line with that preservation, environmentally friendly. I'm not, totally against, I think it was Andrew who was talking about a bike thing, but that would be the be all and end all. There could be, a really cool, environmentally friendly zip lining, opportunity as well. There could be some of that stuff, but maybe, I don't know how big the property is, but why wouldn't there be some potentially some research buildings there where there are cool, university connections or biodiversity studies.
Okay.
It could be a catch-all place, a go-to for all sorts of things related to environmental biodiversity protection. And to that point, Beaver Valley Corridor, emphasizing again that this is a precious place and focus on the environmental sensitivity of this place and the benefits of, and use that as a strength.
Okay. And so just to remind everybody where the icon is for raising hands, there's a little icon on the bottom that says reactions, and you can just click on any of those icons and pop up in your frame. I put the map up because I really want to understand. There you go, Paula, you found it. I really want to understand opportunities as well for the north area. Any suggestions for Kimberley, anything around the lake, anything, just talk to me about opportunities for change within the whole valley area. Any ideas that have come up, and especially from the people that we've heard from that are entrepreneurs moving up, starting their own businesses. What are you looking for in terms of other facilities, amenities that can support what you do, where you live in your new home up here and run your business? What are you looking for? Anything coming up in the chat box, Wai-Ying?
Yeah, there's something here. I think everyone's really liking the idea of the green building and ecotourism innovation hub that was mentioned. There's support for that. This new chat talks about a small part of the green aspect of the valley, which is obvious from above, and is really tree canopy. This is a question. Have we got tree protection bylaws in place?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's more of a, maybe that goes in our list of questions back to the municipality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any changes for the existing ski area, Beaver Valley? I haven't heard opportunities for change there. Any changes around Lake Eugenia?
Well,
there you go, Paula.
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the things, we don't have a lot of water. I mean, we do have Beaver River, and it has the potential of being totally overrun. It's not terribly deep. It's not like great, it has a lot of interest, but we don't have a place that's local nearby to swim, and the Eugenia beach is really not very inviting, and that access is very, very small. So I don't know if there's some sort of opportunity there.
Okay. A different kind of opportunity for swimming.
Yeah.
Water access. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Better beach is what's coming up in the chat box as well. There's a question here just about what we mean by change, Donna.
Well, just any opportunities that would, how did we word that question? That would be a positive outcome for the municipality and the community. So
I would say one thing. I mean, again, these are all very, I have 2 young children, so I'm always focused on what is there to do. I mean, we do a lot of hiking, we do skiing. In the winter, we're very busy up there recreationally. But Dundalk, as an example, is a pool that we used a lot over the summer because it was so hot. And I don't know if that's something that the community.
Some kind of okay. I'm going to pause and ask Robin to launch the 4th poll question that has to do with planning and economic development. And what we're interested in here is we want to understand what you think is the most important consideration, your number 1 consideration for planning and economic development. And when you scroll down, you'll see that it says none of the above. So if it's none of the above, share what you think it is in the chat box, and we'll get Wai-Ying to read it off, or we'll ask you to come on if anybody is willing to share what you think the number 1 consideration. So we're thinking about planning and economic development in the Beaver Valley, and economic development can be building up small businesses, artisan-based businesses. It's the biggest interpretation of what economic development means. It does not mean necessarily factories. So think small scale, medium scale, big scale. And Wai-Ying, if you get any of the other considerations in the chat box, so we'll pick 235 as the cutoff point. Anything after 235, what are people saying?
I can read some of them off right now, actually.
Perfect.
Yeah, so partnership with Ontario Hydro to make lake more environmentally friendly and accessible.
Oh, okay.
Talisman, Judy's saying Talisman had a pool. Is it still viable?
Okay.
Rob is saying, and also he's architect, works at the university. Advocate for a destination eco product center. Promoting that kind of travel from urban centers is not consistent with sustainable goals.
Okay.
So I think that the message there is preserve the natural environment. 50, to everyone, 50% of the Talisman lands are owned by the municipality and therefore they can decide the eventual fate. Council needs to decide what is the best use. Any purchaser should be a B Corp or at least have this philosophy. The local community wants an opportunity. Yep.
So the most important consideration, so the question we're asking, what's the most important consideration in planning and economic development?
Ecological sensitivities.
Okay, so let's just end the poll and just do the sharing. Okay. That is great. And I did an exercise. I'm going to stop sharing this. I did an exercise on the last session because we did want to understand what sustainable development means to everyone. So I am going to try to, let me just see. Oh, no, it's doing it again. Okay, Robin, I'm going to ask you to set up a new whiteboard. And I want to, on this whiteboard, and again, you can put your thought in the chat box. I want to ask you what you think your definition is of sustainable development. So again, a Waying quick reminder on how to use the whiteboard, the text box, the
Yep. So at the top of the screen, I'm saying, assuming top, it's top of mind view, under view options, just hit that, your drop down menu will appear and just the third line down is annotate. And that'll, if you hit on annotate, it'll bring up your menu bar, should bring up the menu bar on your screen. And then on that menu bar, you'll see all the options for drawing, color, and text. And again, click on the whiteboard to get your text box and then type it in and then click again once you're done typing anywhere on the screen.
There you go. And drawings are great. I love drawings. And we save these too. So what does it mean to you? Waying, just a little bit of background on how, as planners, where we take our cues.
Yeah, as planners, we talk a lot about sustainability. We take our direction from the province. So in the growth plan, there is a very plannerese definition of what sustainable means. And then from there, they give direction to the lower tier municipalities, the conservation, the county, the municipality, and they all define their own definition and priorities of what sustainability means within their official plans, for instance. So it does mean many different things to many people, but also to many different municipalities. So you do have the ability to take that guiding principle and start to shape what it means specifically to the community.
And are we getting definitions in the chat box?
No.
Okay, okay. This is a bit of a harder one to put words around, but just anything that you can share would be great. And remember that you can also change the color of your font by clicking on format.
Typically, when we as planners think about sustainability.
Did I do that? Did I just get rid of the whiteboard, Robin? I didn't mean to.
I can still see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I disappeared on my screen.
Yeah, just sort of, just to help people along, I was saying, Donna, that typically sustainability, when we talk about it from a policy perspective, it usually covers everything from the environment to the economy, to the way a municipality is managed, to the way that people, the municipality communicates with the community. So it can cover a whole range of different aspects of a community and development and planning and
okay.
all that. Yeah.
So Robin, maybe you can save that, screen capture it, so we have it for our file. And
Not finished, not finished.
okay. And then let me know, Robin, and I will go back to my screen. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the next steps are. We've got lots of time. I want to make sure that before we end, if anybody has any thoughts they want to make before we wrap up, can I share my screen, Robin?
Sorry. Yes.
We're good now? Just want to make sure because I don't want to lose it.
Yes, yes, I see.
Yes, we're good. Okay, thanks. Okay, so let me just go back here. Okay, so we've just asked, let me just go back here quickly. We've just asked now 5 questions. We first talked about the trends that you've seen in the corridor. I've got lots and lots of pages of notes. And then I wanted to understand how the corridor relates to other regional tourism and recreation draws. And we had a good discussion about that. We talked about opportunities for change. And we went through about what people's ideas were. You gave us words and phrases that could be captured in a vision statement. And then we just took a minute and got your input on what sustainable development meant from individual perspectives. There's lots and lots of ways for you to continue to be involved and share your thoughts. So please tell your family and friends that if they weren't able to join one of these workshops, there's lots of other ways that they can continue to make their opinions known. Please forward any written comments that you have to ecdev@greyhighlands.ca. They've been doing a great job collecting written comments. They're going to bundle it all up, send it to us. We'll incorporate it into our summary. These workshops are being recorded and we will be posting them at the end of next week, as well as the slide deck that we've used. So you can listen to them in their entirety and hear what the other group said. We're going to do a bit of a summary of the common things that we heard at each session. We're going to use the content that we've learned from all 6 sessions and craft an online survey to put that out there to see generally whether people agree or disagree with some of the issues and directions that were shared in the workshop. And then keep an eye on the project webpage at greyhighlands.biz. They're doing a great job keeping that populated with information. We've been collecting a list of questions that we're going to post on the webpage, commonly asked questions, and provide the answers so that everybody can see that. And then we're going to look to getting our report that summarizes everything we heard out and posted online in the early summer. So we are also going to be presenting to council everything we heard. Had a question about how involved the county or the commission, Niagara Escarpment Commission might be, and we're going to follow up with our municipal staff team and get the answer to that, make sure we're sharing that with everybody. So before we leave, I have just coming up on 10 to 3 and we have until 3:30. I don't want to leave without making sure that if there's anything else that people want to share, you are welcome to do so. And I see Stuart's got his hand up. So if anybody else wants to find that icon or wave their hand or send a note to Waying, I, again, do not want to end if people still have things they want to ask. So I see a few hands coming up. So I'll go kind of from first to the third in my order. So Stuart, go ahead, and then I have Andrew and then Judy. Stuart, there you go.
I did take my hand down.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Because I was actually making some relish, and I had to go and stir it. So anyhow, I'm listening very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Andrew, and then over to you. Hope your relish is doing well. Andrew.
Hi there. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you very much for hosting this meeting today, this workshop.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment a little bit further. I mean, obviously, based on that last poll, you can see sustainability is the number one unanimous decision here. So I just wanted to touch on how the cycling community is very good at that. So they have marketing and endorsements. They can search for sponsorship, especially local sponsorship and marketing. So if, you know, a local business wants their name advertised on something, right, that could also offset some of the costs, right? Private investment groups, individuals, government grants, local vendors, as previously mentioned. And we're really good at recycling. So we currently have landfills filled with, you know, stuff that's not recyclable, like wood and, you know, like stones. So all those materials could be used at no charge. I'm sure the landfills wouldn't mind if we took it off their hands. But if we could use that to contribute to the escarpment and, you know, use it to make trails.
Okay.
So it is a very sustainable business method, and I'm just hoping it gets taken into advisement.
Okay, Andrew, tell us one. Is there one that you think is a really great precedent for everybody to get their heads wrapped around this
Actually,
idea?
yes. So I will forward the comments. So I also had a couple of YouTube videos about public parks. So it's publicly funded by taxpayers. It's also a volunteer group called Burn Park. It was built in North Carolina, and there's a YouTube video on how they made that happen. A lot of it's stuff that I've already mentioned, like sponsorship, endorsements, marketing, right? So if you reach out to those sponsors and you try and get those endorsements, it will help offset the costs. So I realize it's, especially if you're considering rebuilding a lift, I understand that is a huge investment, but it's going to draw tourism to the area. The lift itself wouldn't exactly be green, but there's only 2 downhill parks right now in Ontario. So it could be exclusive to the Southwest, essentially, of Ontario, right? So with Blues closing, whereas this is public money, it's different than, we could also get endorsements and sponsorship and, you know, people investing. But at the same time, it's public money. We put it there for the betterment of the community, to bring people in. You know, it's somewhat like a library or a hockey arena. Like, do the profits over the lifetime of a hockey arena offset the cost of building one? Highly unlikely. So this is a project that, you know, it could be expensive, and it could also draw a lot of positives to the community, and it can be very sustainable. I'm trying to think of other examples. There's a couple resorts like in South Ontario. I can't name them off the top of my head. I think it's actually Glen Eaton is a ski resort, and they actually built their resort on a landfill, right? So that was a sustainable solution. You have, I think there's a couple. Sorry.
If you can think of any other, just put it in that chat box before we wrap up, and that would be great. Okay, let me get back to Judy. And sorry, I can't recall your other name, Judy and
Doug.
Doug. Yep, go ahead, Doug.
I saw that our mayor is sitting in on this as well, and maybe he might be able to comment on this. But there's been a lot of discussion on this group around Talisman being one of the key areas where some development could happen. I think Stuart did post that half of Talisman is owned by the township, but the other half is still owned by the failed owner who closed the deal, and who the township was never able to get their tax money out of. I'm not sure where this is really going. The last articles that were posted in the local papers and magazines was that the township and the county and the past owners already had a plan together to turn this into a major hotel deal.
Hey,
I'm
you know
not
what?
sure where we're talking about other proposals for this. That should be a private venture.
Thanks for that, Doug. I mean, it is a really important consideration. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on what should happen. We are really trying to understand the entire corridor, 11,000 hectares, and not focus in on any one particular area. Like Talisman, we really want to understand the bigger scope. And this kind of conversation is so important to set that overarching direction, some of those fundamental principles that should guide any planning and design. And without that, it's really hard to even figure out what to do. So we really are appreciating the input that we're getting at that high level to give the mayor and council and staff the direction that they're looking for. So thanks for that. I was just thinking, I completely lost my train of thought. Any other comments? High level, think 10,000 foot level. What's important? I don't want anybody to go away thinking, I wish I had said this or that. Is there anything coming in the chat? Anybody looking for a chance to speak? Wai Ying? Any final thoughts from
Just
anybody?
some comments. Some good examples that Lorraine has given us as well for parks. Yeah.
Okay. So let me say again, if you have any thoughts after the session, make sure you get them emailed to the Economic Development Group at the municipality. Keep an eye on the webpage. Keep an eye out for the recording so you can hear what's happening in the other 6 sessions. Is there anything else we need to hear from the smaller business operators? It was a really interesting conversation in the beginning from Rachel and a few of the others. And is there anything from your perspectives of moving up here as young entrepreneurs? Rachel, anything?
I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to weigh in as a person in this particular age group, and then also as a person in this particular time of like my earning years or whatever you want to call them. I mean, it's a big privilege for me as a small business owner to be able to take the time at this specific time of day to be able to participate in this conversation. I want to recognize it's not the most accessible time of day for folks who have to be in a place doing work, or for other folks who might have liked to join us but may have jobs that don't permit them to do that. I think just having the opportunity to be able to say, when we think about economic development in our family, and this is a conversation that's happening with a lot of our friends in this generation as well, we're thinking about long-term, right?
Okay.
We're thinking about things that are not just for our enjoyment, but also that are part of what we're going to be doing for the next 15, 20 years as we are continuing to work. And so the things that impact include things like sustainable housing and accessible housing. And recognizing that, you know, building and zoning for family housing is going to be something that probably is going to come up as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is fantastic. So I see a couple of hands, Stuart and Nadia. We are at 5 to 3, still lots of time. I'm going to wrap up probably after this. So Stuart and then Nadia. Go ahead, Stuart.
Well, I just want to say that when I decided to purchase some property on Lake Eugenia in 1995, I didn't realize at the time that I would retire early, and I moved up here on a permanent basis in 2000. I've had my store in Eugenia since 2000, March 2000. I've been very, very pleased. I had lots of opportunities to go to different places, but I had a real estate agent that took me around originally, and he had what I call a pride of place. He took me, before he showed me any properties, he showed me the Beaver Valley. He showed me everything that I should know about the area. And then we looked at houses. So there is definitely a pride of place. I've retired up here. I'm also the president of the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm also very, very aware of a lot of new businesses that are happening in our area. I want to be make everybody aware that this is a great place. It is I just wanted to point out that Tobermory had some issues. They solved them. They got together on parking. I don't see anything that we've done that yet, but I know we will. I've also been a member of the Eugenie Community Improvement Association since 2002. We've done a lot of things to make the boat launch and the park a much better place. So we do have concerned people. I think that's the beautiful thing.
Yes,
that we do have
people that care. People
I
that
think
care.
people care, and we do have a pride of place. I just want to say that I just love the area. I've spent a lot of time. I hope to finish my days out in this particular area. All right.
I love that phrase, pride of place.
Okay.
Nadia.
Hi there. So just on the point about small businesses.
Yeah.
It is the small businesses that make this a unique place as well.
Yeah.
They're the ones that provide a very different experience.
Yeah.
Than that you would get, say, at a Tim Hortons or a Starbucks or a Home Depot, etc. And so I just wanted to do a big shout out to anybody, to all our small business owners on the call, just to say thank you, because I personally seek out all your services. And so I just want to say thank you for everything that you do to make this a unique place.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Nadia. Thanks. Okay, last call for anybody to share anything at all in closing. We have about 49 people on the call. Anybody else just in closing, last call? And you're not seeing anything, any requests in the chat box, Wai Ying? To share some last thoughts.
No,
okay.
Not really.
Okay. So with that, I am going to thank everybody very, very much for carving out a bit of time to participate in this session. This conversation was very, very helpful. Once again, I have pages and pages of notes, as I know Wai Ying and Robin do as well. So we really do appreciate the thoughts that you've shared with us. And it's going to help us very much as we put together our thoughts and summary of everything that we've heard. So thanks very much. And on everybody's behalf, I will ask Robin to stop recording, and then I will close the meeting on everyone's behalf.